Hello everyone, Country Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in the Last Caretaker. We're heading up here to Black Vein Station. So for those of you who are in your late game, you know this is where there is an oil supply. Probably not a surprise when this kind of looks like a big oil derrick, because it is. So you basically have, as the devs have said, an unlimited supply of oil here. You can take oil and put it through a distillation tower and end up with petrol, diesel, and plastic. So you now have an endless source of plastic at least, which is always kind of nice. So with my now 12 tanks of diesel, really 13 because the ship has one, the boat has one, we're down to basically 1741 liters. I'm guessing I'm going to be into the upper 16s when we actually moor. They have said in the updates in the announcement areas of the Discord there, which gives you a kind of a feature list and running log of what's improved and what's happened. They have said that the elevator has been fixed, which is actually really kind of cool. So the elevator had a problem where the call buttons were not working. So hopefully that is indeed fixed. So running at 100%, I'm back up to this 53, 54 kph, and up here in the, I guess I'm in, oh no. Seems to have put the rudder over to starboard here. So I think once it gets really laggy like this, and I'm hoping that's not mine. Full control here of the ship. It looks like the octopi thingies might be alright. Yeah, it looks like octopi's. I don't mind those. Problem is with it this laggy, it makes it really hard to maneuver and be on top of everything. So that was similar to what we saw yesterday in the episode when we got into the high seas, but I backed off on the throttles an awful lot now. I'm at 30%. So hopefully we will be okay coming into the station here. I'm going to try and moor at this outside, so basically the main column being off to my starboard. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not, but I'm going to certainly try. I can see my my hoses are still there, which is nice. So at least there's that. I don't know if they're still connected, but maybe. I mean, those were pretty slack, so they might be alright. Back off to 20%. See if I can make this fairly gentle corner in. Just good. All these areas are really high seas. They really make for a lot of problems. Plus, with it now being really laggy, then it's all so hard to maneuver. Might be pretty close, as long as it doesn't wig out right at the end and bounce the boat off the platform here. Try and come in on just momentum here. Alright, I'm going to run down and see if I can grab a mooring cable. They said before that they have changed some of the mooring cables to be much improved, so I'm going to try. I am a bit laggy here, but I'm gonna try. I do not have. Ooh. Step out over here. So what I'm going to do is try and grab this mooring line. We'll leap over here and see if we can attach there. That'll give us 2 lines. Seems alright. And then we'll go up and set anchor now that we're pulled in against the pier there, or dock I guess, not really a pier. Alright, and laggy though it is, drop anchors. And then now that the anchors are dropped, we'll attempt. It's been pretty good on doing the backup, so I'm going to attempt to do a backup here. And it took. Alright. They have changed a couple things which I think are going to be good improvements. So they put a length of time. So that was slot 5 that I'm saving on. I'm going to go ahead and save on slot 6. Maybe I'll just go ahead and overwrite 1, 2. So we'll use 1, 2, and 5. I'm not really using 6 or 7 anymore because that was yesterday's adventure. So things have been actually quite a bit more stable today. Okay, it's because of the laggy there that it's not always taking a key. So what the bit of a delay when you connect anything to yourself, especially when you're like looking down or something, I think is going to prevent that accidental connection onto ourselves, which I think is going to in fact be a good thing. I really liked having all the information in each box. So now you have to actually hover over the box to see what it's telling you. So I don't know if I like that or not, but I really kind of liked being able to, you know, see all of them and say, okay, that's my That's my timestamp for that one. All right, and then we'll redo slot number 5, which will then set it up as your quick save slot. So the last slot you save in will become your quick save slot. So the trees are still doing pretty good up there. So at this point, we have mostly diesel fuel down here. I don't remember if... So this is going to be a bit problematic, but we'll go ahead and try it here. So the problem here is as this expands, it tightens up and then pops out. So, And for some reason, how did this come? All of this came loose. Alright, oops. And this one came loose. Wow, interesting. Figure out how to redo these. I don't think I like that. Oh yeah. So this one becomes a little bit redundant. Okay, so now I know what I need to do over here. I'm not sure what happened here, but alright, so the proof here is wonderful that we have all of our connections all the way up to the diesel up there, which is good news. So that kept everything. Alright, so the elevator is down, it's powered. So this is purely for the sake of test. So if the call button is working, which it is, it will call the elevator down. So awesome, these are indeed working. Alright, so up we go. Oh boy. There it is. So, I thought I had crude down here. Maybe I do not. Maybe I only have diesel. All right, So I guess now that I'm here, this is basically doing a Mark 1 tour of Black Vein Station. So I made some changes from the last one. I mentioned that even in the as I was doing it. So basically, all we did was pull up crude before, which is to say oil. So one of the things I did was add all of the diesel tanks around the way here. I ripped out, where were they? I ripped out all the solar from, excuse me. I ripped out all the wind turbines that were down here and put in solar for this one, because it's really not in a perfect place. And then I put solar, let me get over here so we can see it. I can't see it. I put solar on the roof here. Let's see if we can see it when we're up here. And up here. So I think there are 4 over here and 5 maybe over here. Not sure, so let's go have a look. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Why is this not doing anything? Alright, so there's 4 up here. 1, 2, 3, 5 up here, sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there one over here in the corner? No, because there's that light tower there. But why these aren't producing? It may entirely be because the batteries are full and there's nothing needed. And there's 3 over here. Yeah. So and then there ended up 6 out there, and those are not well, they're producing a tiny bit, which I presume is powering everything. All right, so the diesel tanks have all aligned. Everything is happy. So my intention was actually to pick up crude, which is to say oil, even though I may not be really entirely set up for that. Alright, well, we'll continue on with the tour just so we can see everything. So the helipad is right now a solar farm. So that's the 6 LumiMax solars out there. We changed everything out on this end for the 1 solar, and then we put 3 and 5, so 8 solars between the 2 roofs up on top. So there's actually quite a production in terms of power. So these guys are definitely sending good power in. Then I gotta find my batteries, because I don't actually, well, you can see. How's that for a bunch of batteries? So let's go up and look at that, because I know I put a bunch of batteries up here. I just stacked them everywhere. So we have 5 batteries over here. We have the equivalent of 5 over here, 6, 7, so there's 10, that makes 12, plus 6. Oh, sorry, plus 4 makes 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we actually have 30 batteries right here in this room. So if this room takes a missile hit, that's going to be, ouch. That's a lot of resources here. So hopefully all those are going. Does it look like? Yep, we're at 6. So if I really wanted to, I did run electric down to the platform there, so I could hook the ship into electric. So for what that's worth, of course we're going into the nighttime hours, so the pump down here, I made some changes. You see that the pump has a single line going over to the wall here, over to the bulkhead. So I basically changed that into single power supply for the pump, and then a completely independent power line which goes all the way down below. Oh, excuse me. And then up to the platform. So the pump line is a completely independent line which goes to this one. So the idea was I could actually turn the pump off from up here without affecting everything else. So this was the line that used to come up, so I used to turn off the pump there, but the downside to that is it disconnected all the way down, which I did not want to do. So the idea was I ran this along here and then down and around and went to the pump independently. So basically when I turned this one off, excuse me, I turned the pump off. So the other addition up here was I actually moved the oil tanks so I could put 4 tanks. So there are 6 tanks below and 4 tanks above. So there are 10 oil tanks. Now, if my calculations are correct, 10 oil tanks just to drain them dry without any supply would be the equivalent of 20 diesel tanks, and 20 diesel tanks, because diesel to petrol is a ratio of 10 to 1, is these 2 petrol tanks. So if I drained everything completely dry, then I should have the equivalent of 20 tanks. So there's 2 diesels here. So there's 2. There is 3, so that makes 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. And 6. Makes 15. Do I have diesel tanks anywhere else? Huh, maybe not. So we have 15 diesel tanks here on the deck. So we're definitely relying to a certain degree on being able to use up that diesel in some way. And then my 2 petrol tanks here. Now I did put these 2 generators in because I was really having trouble when. So the pump takes 60 kilowatts. And the distillation tower takes 60 kilowatts. So what I did was basically the pump runs, fills up all the oil tanks, and then I shut the pump off. Then the distillation tower pulls from the oil tanks and fills all the diesel tanks and petrol tanks. So, but it's that ratio of 10 to 1. So the downside is once your diesel fills all the way up, it's not producing any more anything. So your petrol goes off as well. So the downside is the idea is to keep that ratio at 10 to 1. So 2 tanks of petrol would be 20 tanks of diesel, which I don't have on the deck here. The other side is that these generators burn petrol. And they've still got quite a bit of balancing to go. The burn rates, they have improved the burn rates of the diesel engine on the boat dramatically, but they're not there yet. So the burn rates of both of these generators is absolutely obnoxious. There's folks on the Discord who have basically said, why don't we have diesel generators? And I absolutely concur with that. If we think about if we and I'll go out on a limb here and try and apply reality and real world life to a game. I might get myself into trouble with that, but the small generator is 10 kW, which is big for a petrol generator. This one, these two are 30, which is to say 30 each. 30 is huge for a petrol generator. I do not know my personal experience here. Take that for what you will. I do not know of a company who manufactures a 30 kW petrol fired generator. I don't know of one. It's not practical. A petrol engine does not have the torque that you need to spin a generator like this. So usually, I mean, you see diesel generators down into the, 8 or 9 kW. They're not very efficient when it comes to, because those are a very, very small diesel engine. But they work. They are, low horsepower, usually a 3-cylinder, if not a 2-cylinder diesel engine. Most of them are 3s, but when you get down that small. But for the 20, 25, 30 kW diesel generators, they're actually really very efficient. So you're into the 6, 7, 10 gallons an hour, which I think would translate into, would that be like 30 to 40 liters an hour? Yeah, so 40 liters an hour would be about 12 gallons. Yeah, so you're probably between 30 and 40 liters an hour for a 30 kW generator at full load. So they've got a lot, because these are like 5,000 liters. So they've got a lot of scaling and balancing to do. I hope they will get this more towards real life. On the other side of this, it's a game. So they want to add some challenge, and perhaps at 30 to 40 liters an hour, that's really not a challenge. So you have a 2,000 liter petrol tank, that's going to run you for how many hours? So you can do the math there. 40 divide, or 2,000 divide 40, you're going to come up with, I don't know, I do that. Let me grab where did I put my calculator? I know I had, here we go. So yeah, let's do that. 2,000 divide. Let's call it. Well, hey, let's call it 50. So that will run about 40 hours. So a bit less than 2 days on a single petrol tank. So it's kind of one of those. Well, do we want the game to be challenging, or do we want the game to be incredibly realistic? And so I can see why that would be a bit of a quandary. But anyway, the reason for these was because I had problems with power. I was running my batteries all the way down to nothing. I think I had like 6 batteries at the time, the original ones on this outer wall, the 6 that you saw there. So it didn't last very long. So with the 30 and the 30, I could actually run the pump continuously. The downside, of course, is this is not a perpetual motion engine. So between the two here, we were running at like 12,000 liters per hour. And the production over here is 3,600 liters per hour, which means we're going to drain the tanks and be out of generator power long before we fill up our petrol tanks. So definitely not perpetual motion there. So good for, emergency run, but not good for, operating, and especially, trying to generate petrol, not so good there. So these are the petrol generator and diesel generator, diesel fuel generator and petrol fuel generators. This was just to augment what's coming out of the distillation tower. So the idea was the distillation tower, you know, is the bulk maker, and then we top everything off using these smaller ones just to make up the difference there. On the plus side, we have a lot of room here that's not being used for anything. So I was thinking if I were to choose a platform that would be home base, this one would actually be really practical from the perspective of there's a lot of open spaces. So basically this room up top is the battery and main power room. This down here is where I've got the storage, and the fabricator is inside that room. The recycler is on the outside of the room, and then the room upstairs here is empty. There's just nothing there, and then this room down here is empty. I've even got the lights turned off up there, so nothing up there. So these are basically all the main rooms. There may be some hidden rooms down under here. I'm sure there are, because they kind of did those everywhere. But yeah, this would make kind of the good home base if you could actually, you know, put amenities or something like that in. I could probably pull the bed off the ship and get a proper mattress somewhere and bring it in. But that'll be maybe something for later. I mean, the boat is kind of your mobile base anyway. I don't really have, you know, anything else set up here other than the fuel production. So the question is, did I actually run the diesel? I ran the diesel down, I know that, but did I run the oil down? I think this is the oil up. I don't think I ran oil down. I think I only ran diesel down. But so this goes where? Oh, never mind. I was saying, that's cool. Why is that? Why did I have oil connected onto my diesel tank? But no. So this is the oil line that comes over to the distillation tower. Guess we might as well turn that on, even though I really shouldn't do that at night, because now I'm drawing off pure battery. But it is a really good test. So interesting. So as you can see, so we took some diesel into the boat. This did not used to run unless it could produce both petrol and diesel at the same time, and I guess it now runs either or. That actually produces quite a bit of plastic. Wow. But it's because I think my petrol tanks are full. Yes, they are. So if we look here, we see this is producing 30 kW. So this generator is now, so this is my perpetual motion engine, right? So the distillation tower is producing petrol, but this is burning it faster. Now, if we were to run a saboteur reactor, we could use this CO2 for something. So we are putting 30 kilowatts onto the proverbial electric bus here, but we are burning 6,000 liters an hour. Right. So if we look over here, we are producing 36 liters, so 3,600 liters per hour, 36,000 liters of diesel per hour, but we are burning it at the rate of 6,000 liters per hour. Now you look at any modern generator, that's a huge consumption. 6,000 liters an hour is a lot of consumption. So at 12,000 liters an hour, so this is the consumer here, running right on up there. That'll get up there, I'm sure. Oh, there we go, 12,000 liters. So that's the two generators running, which are producing now 60 kilowatts. There you go, 60 kilowatts, we can see. So for those folks who are new to my channel and possibly newer to the game, this is a great way to look. You can point your reticle at any connection point, and it will tell you what's going through there and at what rate. It will also tell you what mode that particular connection is in. So in this case, we're talking about electricity, blue. They're the only ones that are blue. We're in equalized mode, which means everything is balanced throughout. And we are at this particular connection point 60 kilowatts. So, oh, we're going up. How is it doing that? Oh, because the machine probably turned off. Yes, it did. So you can see the heat is going off there. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Why is it producing that much? Up to 90. Oh, because it's daytime. Yeah, so these guys just kicked in. The solars just kicked in. So the solars on this roof are coming across the catwalk, connecting into the common. So this is basically the common bus for all the electric off the top. And then we're hooking on to the generator. So this now is the main feed. So we're running at 90 something kilowatts into the batteries to recharge them, which is kind of nice. So the idea here is that I'm at least keeping up with the demand. The downside is I'm burning through petrol pretty quickly. So at this point, I'm actually burning through petrol. Oh, because I shut that one off. I'm burning through petrol at almost twice the rate. So 3,600 per hour versus 6,000 per hour, which we're taking. So discrepancy of what, 2,400 there. So I'm burning 2,400 more liters per hour than we are producing, which means I will in about 4 hours go through that entire 4,000 gallons. Sorry, 4,000 liters. Get on to metric here. So what I was hoping by the time I got all of the diesel, or sorry, all of the power, now we can't see what's going on here because I don't have a common bus everywhere. Maybe. So really all of the power coming in, no. Yeah, so this one here is a common junction, so it's actually pulling power off first. So I don't have a common bus to the point where I know what all of my energy production is versus my energy outgo. But we know that the distillation tower and the pump run 60 each. So as long as I am exceeding that, then I can kick this off. So we know this is going to be about 40. So between 40, no, it's going up because of, you know, as the sun goes up, you have less shadow on your array, but you see it bouncing around a little bit. So that one's producing that. We'll go over here and look at this one just for shits and giggles to see what this is at. So if that one is producing 40 something, this one is producing almost 30. So between the 40 and the 30, we are producing more than we are consuming. So we're net gain. So we should have power going up the stairs here. Yep, a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. So that's the energy going into the batteries. So 1.2 kW, which is not a whole lot, but better than nothing. So that's basically the tour here. It looks like I do not have crude oil going down. I was thinking maybe I had crude oil going all the way down there, but I don't think I do. So I can see diesel there. Let's go ahead and go down. See where I'm at. I'm at 40 minutes here, so why not? We'll go down. See how many lines we have. So we've got, that's the diesel one, this is the oil one coming up, so those are my 2 lines there. We have electric. What else do we have? Turn my torch on. Yeah, so I actually have 2 electrics coming down now because we've got the main, which goes all the way down to the dock, and then this one actually just goes to the pump. So the idea was my pump is entirely independent. That way I could put the switch up there on the platform and not have to come all the way down here. I know that's totally lazy bum thing, but and then all the diesel is coming over here, going out through the wall, and I think the diesel is indeed the only one I pulled all the way down. Yep. Yep, that's it. Oh, and I left that one over there. So ultimately these guys are going down to the dock, as you can see down there. So that's where these go. These come right to the edge of this. So you can, I think I'm a little overburdened and laggy. You can actually clear that. I have a lot of trouble with the gymnastic stuff, so I'm not necessarily a totally reliable source in terms of Did I plumb that in? No, I don't think I did, because I don't have any flow here for electric. What am I seeing? Oh, those are just the aft solars that are powering on the boat. So, oh, now we're almost full, it looks like. This is slowing down in volume here. Let's see how much we're flowing. 3 liters, 2 liters. We're definitely reaching the end. 1 liter. So that means all the tanks are balanced out. 0. So that should go to no flow. Thankfully that the connection onto the ship, I think, stayed connected, which is kind of nice. Almost up. All right, roll back in here. So what I was thinking is that if I had a convenient way to get crude onto the ship and then deliver. I could deliver to Exodus Station because I do have a distillation tower there, so I could produce petrol and diesel. The downside of producing diesel there is there's no use for it. If there was a diesel generator available in the game, then there would at least be a use for the diesel there. So that's one of the reasons why, if you recall from the tour there at Exodus Station, was to plumb diesel all the way over to the fabricator, and then I could fabricate the small diesel tanks and carry those onto the ship and then, you know, plumb those in. So the idea there is that I would have, you know, diesel being produced there. I could use it on the ship, on the boat, so for what that's worth. Alright, so we are still drawing diesel here, which I think, or sorry, drawing oil here. Not sure why we are drawing oil. It may be just down to producing petrol. Yeah, so our diesel flow has entirely stopped. So that's this here. But we still have oil flow up to the tanks up here, which are being drawn. Yeah, so we're still pretty good. I mean, there's 1725. We haven't drawn it. We haven't drawn it down too much. And then, yeah. So just like I suspected, we're actually only producing petrol now, which is actually, that's really neat. So this is a change that has been made to the distillation tower. So it used to be if your petrol or your diesel stopped, which is to say your storage capacity is full, then this unit would shut down. So the nice thing here is that that is not the case anymore. So the nice thing here is you are endlessly producing plastic, which is kind of cool. So now technically there is not the need for either of these, because if it will produce independently, both the generators are off. So we are just literally filling the tanks, and we are full. So petrol is done. This guy, if everything is well, will have shut off. So this is, you know, one of those kind of interesting aspects. So I did a bug report on this today. So it's still consuming oil, and let's go ahead and look here and see at what rate. So it is going through 20,000 liters an hour, and it's not producing anything but plastic. So, you know, in the end, that's one of the reasons why there's a switch here, and we can ultimately turn it off. Alright, so as this thing goes all the way to red and cools down, we'll pick up the last of the plastic here, and then we'll actually turn the oil pump on, which will refill all of my oil tanks. There's the 60 kW draw, right? That oil pump, that big oil pump. But you also see that now we are flowing once again. So we're not flowing here because that one is turned off. So that's the feed line over there to the distillation tower. So we are literally filling these tanks. So as soon as these tanks are full, so we actually have a pretty good pace of almost 8,000 liters an hour going in here. And this is actually the better one to look at, because this is the total flow. This is split. between the two ends. So this is our total going in, which is almost 14,000. Well, 14 and climbing. Hovering between, bouncing around a little bit, between 14 and 15,000 liters per hour, which is pretty nice. So given those kinds of rates, these are going to be full really quickly. Yeah, so you can see how fast they're going up. Now, keeping in mind, this is because all of these tanks are equalizing. This is actually true of all the different tanks. So, that's going up, about 1 liter per second, which is to say 10 liters per second in every tank. 3,600 seconds per hour, so that's a pretty good clip. So the plan was to add oil tanks onto the boat. I was thinking 6. But if I don't have oil down there, the only thing I could do is to actually swap the leads. So basically I'm using the diesel oil line to go down, although I could kind of use the cheaty thing and plug in the oil into the diesel line, and then use that cheaty mode where they combined and then pull it back out at the other end. So I probably could do that. I don't really like that idea, but the idea is that ultimately I would really like to get oil, because I could haul oil to 2 different places. I could haul oil back to Sanctuary 37 and do my basically petrol and diesel production there. But there's also, because you kind of need petrol, which is to say you need CO2. So you need a CO2 source, and the only CO2 source you effectively have is through one of the petrol generators, which is to say the petrol electric generator. Excuse me. So I'm using, as you saw, I'm using the small petrol electric generator, which produces plenty enough CO2 to run the Saboteur reactor. The downside is, of course, it's burning through an awful lot of petrol to do that. So I don't have a way to produce petrol. So what I was doing was basically using the ship's petrol, which is all fine and dandy because I don't use it for anything but my flamethrowers. So, or flamethrower rather. So I don't use a whole lot. So I have 4 tanks, which is 8,000 liters. I've got 2 tanks there at Exodus Station, which means I can just carry a tank load over when I go. So basically, as I carry the humans onto the station, I can also carry a box of petrol and then dump it into the tank and then do what I need to do to fill up the next rocket. So also, as I demonstrated yesterday, I do leave the rocket in a full state. So basically I carry the humans over there, you push the button, you go to launch. So that's all set up there. Maybe that's OCD, I don't know. I don't know how other people are doing it. I tend to have it all ready and then get the humans into it and then launch. So I suppose some people get the humans in there and then prep the rocket, and so for what that's worth. All right, let's see what we're at here. So 19, which is steadily growing, which is good. And then I don't think the pump will shut off, but we'll watch. So if they have fixed a few things, so what I discovered was that the pump continues to run even though the oil tanks are full. So it continues to burn that 60 kW, which, you know, is in the end the pump is doing nothing but burning electricity. So not a good thing. So I don't know how I would format the tank. So maybe it would be the kind of thing where I would just run maybe just a string of 6 tanks down the center line on the bow. And then I would be able to deliver. So there is 6, I believe I have 6 tanks for oil at the Exodus station. So the real question is, do I run an entirely independent oil line down there, which I would really kind of like to do. I really don't like the idea of, you know, plumbing it all into the same pipe, even though it works in the game. I don't really care for that idea. So I do have, let's see what we have in terms of materials here. I think I should have a pretty decent spattering here as well. This I'm hoping, yeah. Oh darn, that was not what I wanted to do. Okay. I may not have room to put these in, but I'll go ahead and check. I doubt I do, because it looks like I've got a full box over here too. That's full, and that's not full. Now it's full. Alright, so I don't have any more room there, so I guess that's why I put them in the box. Kinda makes sense. Alright, so I don't know if this is enough to do everything I need to do. So let's put this back. I have 12 plastic because, of course, the machine was making plastic there. Oh, wrong way. Alright, I do actually apparently have a bunch of iron. Alright, so let's do a split 5 QQ to run that into my inventory. So now I have enough to make the extenders. But I don't know if this is going to be enough, because I really have to go from the pump room around to the corner and then down to the platform. Let's go over here, which I think is where my save is. Nope. I don't remember if it's upstairs or it is over here. Back room. There it is. Alright, I go ahead and energize. Try to do the save here. Hopefully it will all go well. V and hold. Yeah, they've done some real improvements between 1804 and 1999 version numbers. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna plumb in from down there because I might as well. There are 6 diesel tanks down here. Oh, before I go, so I have to jump. All right, we'll do that down there. I really want a diesel tank on the platform down there, just to make it obvious this is diesel, or sorry, oil. So the downside is I have to jump. So all right, so this is my closest point, or this one. So this is my diesel going through the wall. So now if I go through here, I will not be able to close that door, but that's actually fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. So we're going to fabricate cable thing here, get kind of close to the door. We're going to go a Q to turn that off, but we're going to go ahead and connect. Oh darn, sorry about the lag there. And then we go around the corner. I'm going to go ahead and put a extender here just to kind of neaten things up. Q to turn that off. So we're going to do the third cable, sorry, the third hose extender here. Even though we're going to swap things out a little bit. Alright, so cable extender, we're going to put that one right there. Connect. Alright, so here's what we got. We got our diesel that's coming in here. And that one is now going right there, and somehow it ended up over there. I'm not sure how it ended up doing that, but it did. So here's what I'm thinking we're going to do. We're going to change things up a little. So we're going to take this line off, which is my diesel. So we're going to grab the cable. We're going to swap with this one. And we're going to do the same thing over here. So this is the diesel line going down. So we're actually going to take that off. We're going to connect that here. So that reconnects our diesel, and what I'll do is run the line right out the center here. So we're just going to neaten up things a little bit. And we'll put our extender down because I think I can put it right in between here. I'm going to go right up until it turns red. There we go. Connect that in. So this should be my oil line. And then the trick is when I jump off, I have to kind of sail a little bit sideways and down, and that might hurt a little bit. Alright, I have to get over here far enough so I can connect you. That's not what I want. I want that one. Alright, I'm going to get over to this side, and then we're jumping. The last time I did that, it hurt. Alright, so we're going to do a cable connector here. Let's go ahead and do that there. Q to turn that off, and then we connect it in, and looks like it worked. Looks like it worked, folks. Alright, on the good side, so we're going to go ahead and put the oil tank right here. So I got all the connections here and here, and then connections over there. So do we have room back here? Yes, we do. I wonder if I should put this over there. Maybe not. Let's oh, but I can't get through over here. Never mind. I can't do that one, so I'm gonna have to go around to this side. So what we'll do is create we might put it over here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change this up a little bit. So we're going to grab fuel cable, which is E. We're going to go ahead and just reel that in. We're going to connect on, which gives us just a cheaty way to get to the cable connector. We're actually going to put that over here, and then Q to turn that off, and we're going to connect that in. So that becomes our diesel port. Oh, I really wish we had the ability to I really wish we had the ability to color code, because that would be really cool. Other people have asked, it's not just me. Okay, so we'll string this across over to here. We will put another connector, another extender as close to that as we can. I think that's close enough. Keep it looking symmetrical. Q to turn that off, E to connect, and then we're going to I'm gonna go around the post. There we go. Okay, so now if I have done everything correctly, this is my diesel, this is oil, this is electric. Now the downside is I will have to get oil over to this side. So this has amazingly remained connected. Alright, so we're going to do two things. We're going to bring, I don't know if I have the electric line enough to do it. See, I like how these are stretching a bit more, so that it makes working in heavy seas a lot easier. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn the torch on, even though that'll burn through some power. So let me change, this is grab electric cable and put that here. Then electric cable we're going to literally string along the dock and put down a cable. E for connect, E for connect, we'll bring that over here. Right. Yeah, here, and then we'll do the oil line also over here. So even though this seems a bit I'm trying to decide whether to put it over here because I really kind of want to put the oil one over there. So let me go ahead and put the electric one here. Q to get rid of that one. This will just be a tagline. So basically this is the electric connector onto, there we go. So interestingly enough, it's pulling from the batteries here on the boat and sending upstairs, which actually makes sense because the oil pump is still running. So yeah. Alright, and then we'll bring the oil line over because the oil is going to right here. So this is the oil. So we will have oil which will go to the inside, fabricate, and just get this backed off enough for it to turn green. Now, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to cross somewhere. Alright, we'll bring this over here, and originally I was thinking I'd do just 3 in a row, and I think I will. So this is a fabricate here. So I'll do that just offset from the ladder. And then Q to turn that off, and then we're going to connect in on this side just to kind of keep him out of the way. Now I hate the clipping, but you know, in the end it's going to be screwed up somewhere. It would be really nice to kind of have cableways or something that would prevent the clipping, but and that may happen in the future. That's been a couple of suggestions that have been on the Discord channel. So maybe it will happen. Okay, so with all this, let's leap up onto the ship here. So, whoa, those trees are getting pretty good size. Look at that. Oh, it has coffee. I don't know when they actually show up and are ready to harvest. So I guess these have done pretty decent here, sitting on the ship. I mean, it makes me wonder, you know, can you really, have they designed this so you can actually harvest? Supposedly you can. And you create food with it, which ultimately you feed the humans. So I guess we'll get them addicted to coffee before they even get to space. Alright, let me go down ladder here, which isn't really too much of a ladder. And we are going, so I think 6 tanks on the bow of the ship, and 1 tank on the dock. So let's, so all parts, and then build. I mean, I could have done that up on the deck, but, you know. Alright, so just because I don't know if this is really realistic or ideal, I think there are so I want to keep this on this side of the line because of the elevator, might be an elevator conflict, and then I can't get too close to that tank. My ports for it are on this side, so fabricate. So the idea is I can technically walk through here, but I think there's rails to the point where you can only get to right here anyway. That'll be the little guys coming out. All right. So downstairs. Pick up all the parts, which should be done, and that will be the one for the dock area. All right, so okay, as we see up there, tasks 1, oil tank, so that should be all good to go. So you might have seen me fussing around. We had the pink blobs down underneath over here. It couldn't do anything. I finally dropped a grenade because the grenades, of course, are area of effect. So the grenades can actually reach their stairs, nothing else could. The downside is now I have remnants biomatter sitting there that I cannot get to. But I guess the biomatter being there is better than having creatures on the ship. Alright, there it is. Alright, so what this means, so now we have 3 lines coming down here, which is pretty awesome. So what I might have to do is that, so my diesel line, I might have to reel in the diesel line, and so it's, for whatever reason, decided to come over the railing and come down. I have no idea why it did that. Just, you know, one of the little fluky things. So come on. All right. So I might just have to fix that. Okay, fabricate. We'll back off away from that. I guess we can back off quite a bit. Go maybe right to there. Build, and I am apparently out of stuff. All right, so we're gonna drop that so it is sitting there, and we'll go back onto the ship and get materials. That is the one convenience of not having them on the bow, is I used to be able to just go right to those containers on the bow and grab stuff. And I do realize I'm quite a bit over. I'm just gonna roll. Oh, I don't need to be in here. Okay. Pause, waiting for materials. Clear queue. I don't want that. That's just... Alright, so I need... Let's see what I need. I need both. So, that's interesting. Oh, because, yeah, the fabricator takes out of your inventory first. Alright, so iron... so we're going to do split 5, which actually will be enough, because I'm really only doing that one, and split 5. So grab that and drag it down. We've got 51 left, so that's actually pretty good. All right, so the tank is built, but let's go ahead and queue up 6 tanks. 6 is a bit overkill, but why not? Okay, add parts, add parts, add parts, add parts, add parts, and one more. I think that's 6. Alright. And we have plenty of materials there, it looks like, so we should be good to go. Alright, sun's coming up. Solar panels going around. Alright, leap off. Alright, that's all in place. Alright, now grab this and connect that there, connect this here. This should, if I've connected everything right, will start flowing. Yes, indeed. Okay, and then we'll grab this one here, which will then reconnect here. All right. Awesome, awesome. All right, so bear with me, folks, for a little bit longer. So I want to get the tanks built on the bow, and I might actually run them just between the solar panels there. So hopefully that, yes, it's going down. I probably just, this is probably just pure OCD. So now the ship and the station are interconnected. So, you know, running power over to that particular one was just because. All right, so we're going to go back down, which is on the far side over here. Oops, it's this way. All right, so the pump is running. You can see it is flowing. So it's putting oil into these tanks, and it's also putting oil into that tank at the bottom. So I am going to leave the pump running. It's burning a lot of power, but that's why I've got 20 batteries, right? So the plan is I gotta fix that one cable, which is to say the one hose. So that my diesel hose, I just gotta fix it. So I jumped down successfully once with it looks like no damage. So hopefully I can do that again. So that is, of course, the plan. Things do not always go as planned. Now, the amusing irony is, and I've said this before on other videos, not this video, but not this series of videos for the Last Caretaker. But so I'm acrophobic, and the humor there is I used to teach rock climbing. This was before I actually was aware I was acrophobic. It was just like, why do I feel so much anxiety? So there you go. Yeah, when you're acrophobic and you don't realize it. Alright, so this is my diesel line. So here is what we are going to do. We're going to grab the fuel line here. We're going to do a Q and reel it in. That's the one in the very corner. There it is. So we're going to step forward here. We're going to connect fuel. We're going to get right over here in the corner and leap off. Oh, 2 in a row without killing myself. How is that? Connect. There we go. Alright, so my diesel is reconnected. So now I have all 3 of those that just come straight down and in, which is nice, except for the electric, which is going under the rail, but I'm okay with that. It's nice, smooth arc. Alright, so awesome. That's all done. Alright, so now we get on to the ship. Now we just have to figure it out. So I think our best methodology here would be just to lay them down the center line. So we're going to start up here because ultimately I really would like 6 tanks. I hope this is not going to become a weight issue, but I've seen other people with tanks on the... Yeah, I can't fit it in there. Alright, so B for build, which brings up that particular menu, and we'll look for the oil tank, which is here. Right click build. Now unfortunately we're doing that little rocky thing, so I'm going to try my best to get these so they're aligning well. So we're actually close enough for that particular one. So that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are a bit wonky. Alright, we'll go downstairs, we'll grab the last of the thing, which is just a slightly too far forward. Advanced alloy mesh should be the last item. Oh, nope, clear. Alright, then we should be able to carry this to the bow, and that last tank should go. There it is. Alright, the next thing we will do is... Wow, look at all that poop. So if you didn't believe me when I was saying harvesting can be really easy, there you go. That's probably most of a Fortahold right there. Now, you got to do some swimming around, certainly, but there it is. That be a lot of poop. Alright, so... Go ahead and, we're gonna interconnect these, of course. I have no idea how much this much weight on the bow is going to affect things. I have no idea. Put that a little close, but I think I'm okay with that. Alright, so this one is, you know what? Apologies. I'm not okay with that. I want it to look a little bit better than that. Alright, so we'll pick this up again. We will recreate. We're going to give us just a slight bit more room. Of course, now my cable is in the way. Let me turn. E to connect. Okay, I'm better with that. All right, so a lot of clipping here, and we're gonna do the extend the. So the downside is I don't have a whole lot of room, but I'm gonna go as close to the edge as I can get. Q to turn that off, and then E to connect. All right. Right next to the solar, which is okay. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And cable connect. All right. Reasonably close. Oops. Reasonably close to the edge there. Q to turn that off, and E to connect. And there it is. Alright, so there's oil tanks. We have our oil supply, which is this one here, which means we can go from this to that and start taking on oil. So the downside is that the pump up there is running pretty solid. So okay, we have diesel, so we can actually disconnect this one. And then ultimately we head back to Exodus Station. Now, what I have not done, so I've only plumbed the oil and I believe diesel down to the platform. I'm even trying to remember where it is at Exodus. So it's basically under the center platform, off the edge. So if you remember, kind of on the utility side of the rocket where the actual gantry is, there's a round platform out behind, and kind of the opposite of where the power production area is on that center platform area. So it's on the opposite side of that, and behind the gantry. So I ran, I believe, power and diesel down that. I may have pulled oil already down to that, because it was like, okay, how do I do this? So I think I pre-planned all that and ran the oil down. So now I would have two places where conceivably I could do oil. Now if I leave these on here, they look ugly as sin, but the downside is I could actually go convert all of the oil supply or fuel supply depots over to, basically I bring in oil and then have a distillation tower on board. Now the downside to that whole idea is that, 60 kilowatts, that's pretty substantial, which means you'd have to go from your basic electricity, like 2 Lumimaxes, which I think is what I've got on most of the stations I've been to. You would have to, really do something with those to be able to, if nothing else, battery power, or hook into the ship when it's actually, doing production. So it's not so easy as to say, just, yeah, we could do that easy enough. So now, having all the tanks on the bow, I don't know if it matters whether weight balance really matters. So the other side is, where to put them, and that's going to be really, I think, the biggest challenge here is to figure out where is the best weight. So I could move them more to amidships, which is really to say I probably put them, 3 and 3. The downside, of course, is that, no matter where I put them back here towards the deck house, they're in the way. So, figuring out what to do, I might be able to move them outboard just a little bit and put them parallel to the solar. The downside is now the solar clips through them, which is kind of weird. But so at least at the center line, they are not directly conflicting with anything there. So now, if I really wanted to change things up here, this equalize. So if you look at F Foxtrot, equalize fuel cable. So I could actually change, in this case, to output, which then forces everything to pull and fill, rather than equalize. So equalizing is a bit slower because it has to equalize everything. So you see here oil output, which went right to 72,000. So it is literally pulling from those 10 tanks, and it will fill these 6 tanks to the very top and not equalize. Everything else is equalizing, but these now are not equalizing. So they'll fill just that much faster. So I think we'll go and just, whoa, too jumpy. He's got a ways to go. So it's going up pretty quick, but still going to be a few minutes. See what the thing like having trees on your bow, huh? Wonder how long it takes these to completely mature. This is really cool. What do you have on the bow of your ship? I have trees on the bow of my ship. Oh, it'd be really nice if we had, like, high pressure hoses that we could fill this in like 5 minutes. I don't know if this will be a thing and this boat will kind of be permanent tanker from here on out. I mean, usually once I build something, unless it's just totally hideous, then I'll keep it as it is. The only downside here is I don't know how this weight that's completely on the bow is going to affect the performance. So for those of you who watched the episodes from yesterday where we were kind of focusing on the seeds for the human, we had a lot of ship problems. And it was, ultimately clipping through the water, and we're in heavy seas and all that sort of thing. So the question really comes in, what does the weight do in terms of ship performance? On the other side of that equation is, strangely enough, it was running at that 54, 55 kph. So one of the reasons I backed off on the throttles down to, originally it was to 80% and then 70% was, because it was really doing, it was really, I couldn't really see it because you can't run the orbit camera around that much, but It really looked like as I was coming off of waves, I was, catching air under the boat. And I don't know if that's actually possible or not. It might be, but that was kind of like, that's a little weird. So back off on the throttles a little bit. Once I get out to calm water, then I can go back up to 100%. All right, I'm gonna just to save time here for the future. I'll click on this. So we're still running energy. So on the good side, of course, I can't really test my diesel to see if the diesel connection came back and worked okay. I hope it did, but don't know. I suppose I could test by way of running a line in and somebody asked me the other day why I don't have all of the different, like water and diesel and petrol all plumbed into the fabricator. And my answer to them was because I never do anything but petrol, the little petrol tanks with the fabricator. And because I do it infrequently, then I just string cable down the middle of the deck. It looks ugly, but it's not permanent, so it's not going to stay there. Now, of course, I could plumb that in because that door is not going to be closing. So maybe that's something, plumb it in and have it in the overhead. So I don't know. It would actually... The conflict right now would be how to get it in and around all those containers that are also on the overhead. So that would make it a little interesting. All right, we'll leap onto the ship here and see where we are at. I'm hoping we're at 12 or 1300. Yeah, 1200, not bad. Still a few minutes. So 750, so that should be about 10 minutes. No, a little less than 10 minutes. 7 minutes. It's 7,200 liters. So we are at max capacity for the hoses, which is what I wanted. Fill them up as fast as we can. Unfortunately, some of the aspects of this are just, watching paint dry. I don't think that's ever going to go back in place. I tried to put fenders on the ship, but they did this. So, no worky. So we can kind of get a picture of where the other tanks are at. So this tank is equalizing with everything upstairs. These are going down even with the pump running. So 7,200, yeah, they're drawing quite a bit. That looks just so cool with the trees hanging out over the front of the bow. That's pretty awesome. If it wasn't so much swimming around, I would go out and collect a lot of that poop. There is just so much out there, man. Problem is, I don't need any at the moment. So this is another one of those perfect platforms because it's not very far off the water. So you basically stand out here without lights on. So you know, make sure is my torch on? Yeah, my torch is on. Wow. So you just make sure your torch is off, and then because they don't like the light, and you can either use the eclipse torch and kill them with the torch. You know, basically let them just gather everywhere. But you're going to take a bit of hit when it's totally dark. They zero in on you. So that's the downside. Should go up top side just to see. So we're almost there. 400 to go. Uh-oh. Oh. We stopped. We stopped there for a second. It's like, what's going on? I should be okay because I've got 10 tanks up there and 1 tank down here. So, and the 1 tank down here was just kind of to make sure it's really obvious what's connected to what. And again, whether we call it an exploit or whatever, you probably can get by with. So all the different gases in one hose, all the different, you know, oil, petroleum products in one hose, water and seawater in one hose. But if that truly is a bug, then, you know, one of these days they're going to fix it. And that would ultimately mean you would have to come back through your game and, you know, fix all the single pipe things. So probably, you know, and, you know, again, just me, OCD engineer, didn't want to do that. So I just ran independence. And so to finish my story from earlier being acrophobic, so most games where you're climbing and you're high up, I feel anxiety from my acrophobia, even though I'm sitting in my chair behind my desk. So it's just, you know, acrophobia is acrophobia. You know, most of it is mental, and I can appreciate the game where I can leap that far and not get damaged. That really does my acrophobia good. So being able to leap off that platform onto this lower platform, especially that I'm kind of, you know, I'm not quite directly over it, so I'm like sailing sideways. I don't know, is that gyros? What is that? That you can actually control your fall, control the vector of your descent. So anyway, that part of it, I've gotten a little more confident to not totally freak out with acrophobia problems. So I think there is some irony to be had there. All right, so while this is filling, I did remember something that I do need to do. So I'm going to come around the other way on this particular one. Originally I was going to come across and come down. So this is that section there, but I have a connector, or sorry, an extender. So I'm gonna go clean that extender up. So we're gonna go over the little bridge here. And there's a ladder right over here. So we basically go down this ladder. So E4. Oh, crap. I have, yes indeed, sailed right off platforms. That is no fun. Because I really thought I was climbing onto that ladder. But the answer to that was, nope, you're not. So originally the intention was I would leap across carrying the hose and then figure out a way economically to go down. And I was thinking I could go down the backside of the elevator here, but there's just no way to do it. Because if you fall down, you're just falling. I was thinking about bungee jumping down, but then it's the matter of, you know, coordinating your swings, which I have not figured out how to do yet, to the point where I could actually attach a extender onto this backside. And ultimately doing that 3 times because I've got well, I mean 2 originally, but ultimately 3 now that I've done diesel, oil, and electricity. So ultimately we're set up pretty good. This was really what I had intended. For those of you who have played this before, there's actually a ladder on the outside over there. I can turn that off. That's kind of your original egress point to get in. So you, have to just dive in the water. This elevator is at the top, so you can't utilize the elevator. Plus, the platform doesn't have any power. So even if the buttons down there worked, there's no power. So you ultimately have to get up, and then it's the matter of figuring out. When I originally did this, I don't know if we can see it, but I'll go back down because the oil should be almost done. You have octopi under here, the ones with the mosquitoes, so they are painful, but you can actually kill them through the steps there if you really want to. But you can come down here underneath and clear that one out. That was a little more problematic. So we'll circle back around to the elevator. There's not really anything else to do up here. If I wanted to add more solar, I suppose I could do that, but in the end. So at this point, let's just do some checking so we can see there is oil flowing into these tanks. So the pump is actually keeping up pretty well. Is this gaining or losing? It is gaining now, so we are probably full on the boat, which is great. So there's not really anything else to do up here, so which is good. So once you get power up here, then you have control of the elevator. Now that the call buttons are fixed, then that means you really have more control over the elevator, which is awesome. I'm still seeing flow. So it's kind of like when the sun goes down and all the red globes come out. That's slug season, so it doesn't happen right away. The moon is probably going to be, you know, up about there. So technically it's a couple hours in the night, but I mean it's the night is pretty short and the moon is, you know, really moving. I mean, you can see the moon going. You can see the sun going too, but so definitely not sure how all that happened. Part of the lore and the story. All right, let's see what we are at. Going a lot slower than we're no longer... Because those tanks have quite a bit. So we came way off that 7,200. Oh, now we're... Nope. Yeah, wow, we're slowing down. All kinds. Wonder why it's doing that. So whenever you're out of power, your lights are going to flash. Which is to say they'll go over to the red, which is no power mode. But yeah, our flow has really gone to crap. I wonder why it did that. All those tanks up there should be on equalized, so I'm not sure why they are. Wow, this is going. I wonder why that would matter. Weird. Seems like anyone in the chain being set up that way, which this one is right now. I don't know why that would not make any sense. Why my flow would go so wonky when you've got one set as input only, and then, you know, flowing into the tanks as input only. Is strange. So 1926, so this would be like 32 by the time we get up here, 33, 34, yep. So these all six are equalizing pretty well. So we're almost there, folks. 40 points more. Still like watching grass grow. All right. So this should slow down to 0 and then stop, which it has. All right, so we're gonna go and we'll disconnect over here. And then we'll reset this because when I connect on the other end, then okay, so F back to balance. Yep. All right, so all the tanks are full. What we're going to do is go up and just have a look and see where the tanks are at up there. I do not want to leave with the pump still on. So it's filling that tank there, so that's why the flow is still going. So for those of you who have not been to this platform yet, so Black Vein Station. So if you think about the name Black Vein, black gold was what oil was once called. So Black Vein Station, it does make sense, but it's the only platform that looks like an oil derrick because, hey, it is. So even if you're aquaphobic, just go all the way to the top. I kid you not, it is one heck of a view. You can see way out there. So it's actually really cool on clear days if you don't have a lot of weather. I don't know if my game is broken because this particular one I have to run on lowest graphic settings, and I don't know if the storms and everything are just turned off at lower graphic settings, because I get no weather patterns. It is just clear all the time. So don't know if that's weird. I think that's weird. The other machine, which is a gaming laptop, pretty high-end gaming laptop, it's got I think a 4060 in it for graphics card. It actually does pretty well. 30, but it's going up really slow. So I've got that one set on, I think I tweaked that up to Epic today, just Epic graphics, just to see what it would do, and it does pretty well. So that one's probably a year or so old, maybe. So it's a pretty new laptop, Asus. I most of my laptops in the latter traveling years became Asus. I found them to be pretty decent quality. They all had cooling problems for a while, but I just found that Asus, even though Asus kind of has the reputation of being, kind of bleeding edge technology to the point where some things are just not ready for prime time yet, or bug chips that just have not had enough testing time on them and that sort of thing. But so it's pretty good model. I definitely appreciated it. What I had a lot of trouble because of the operating system, and I really am not a Windows 11 fan. It was just very problematic. It was, you lost a lot of personalization capability, and it was hardware-wise, it does not like a lot of things. And so getting everything set up the way you want it, for one, I bought it with I think it was a 500 gigabyte drive, SSD M2, and I instantly upgraded the main drive to a 4 terabyte because I had it sitting. I've got parts, and it would not take. It just, it wouldn't recognize it, or the operating system was showing as corrupt. I mean, it was just problematic. But the laptop, once I got it, finally up and running, it was actually, it's performed very well. I definitely appreciate it. And then I have the one that I actually carried around the world. That it was, the reason I got the other one was because this one had bricked. I had backups, which is what I used ultimately to recreate the other one. Just that was the problem. And so that one I sent off to my bricked one, sent off to Asus to get it fixed. And it came back fixed, but I had reverted to the one previous to the older one because it was working. So, a bit older machine, it really did have cooling problems, a lot of cooling problems, which was kind of that era of machine. And it wasn't just Asus, it was... So Asus has their ROG series, Republic of Gamers series, that I've really stuck with. But I had an MSI quite a while back, and it was the same thing. Decent quality machine, no question. Asus, I think, is a little better. They've got a few bells and whistles that are better, but MSI builds a really good machine. Alienware, of course, was purchased by Dell, so that is their kind of consumer gaming series machine. They are really pricey, but a lot of flexibility. You can actually choose like discrete video cards and that sort of thing. So that part of it's actually kind of cool. But I think I'm gonna have to upgrade this machine. The game is doing better, but it really does tax this machine. So, for example, right now I am running at 75%. Oh, it's bouncing a bit, so it dropped down to 40 there for a second because I'm not moving. But yeah. Oh, now it's back up. So right around 75%. Which is my main display for this one, which is a 3070 Ti, RTX 3070 Ti. So pretty decent card, but now it's definitely running better. This 1999 version, 1999 that updated, I think it was today, is they've fixed a lot of things, whatever it is. The downside is I'm still running at 45 to 47% on the CPU, which is what I think is causing a lot of the lag. So until they can get the GPUs way up there in terms of doing all the power, all the power crunching. All right, so the good news is all of my tanks are full, which means I can turn this off, and we are ready to abandon station. Alright, so folks, thanks for sticking with me here for the second hour, even though I really didn't intend to do that, but we did accomplish quite a bit. We got the oil plumbed in, we got the tanks onto the ship, the boat, and now we can pull up our mooring cables and set sail and see if we can sail out of these treacherous waters. I don't know if we can or not. So this is charging batteries, so we're gonna go ahead and break this off, take in the lines. We'll break this one loose. Q, let that one go. That'll flip over there. Oh, this one already broke loose. Oh no! Falling down in between the ship. Yeah, so for whatever reason, oh, look at that, my anchor never went down. And my anchor is caught in the railing over there. Unless my anchor's never actually dropped. It is entirely possible. Alright, so I'm still good on water back here. Water is using a bit of power. The pump is using a bit of power. Yeah, the anchor did drop. Alright, so lift anchors. Our boat is 100%, so just going over the gauges here. So we have full of diesel, which we did fill up right as we got here. We did burn some power, so we're at 5.8. It is 6:42 in the morning. Pointed north. Winds are good, head on. Alright. So we've raised our anchors here. The question is, do we back out? I never figured this. So I'm 20% back, but I'm rolling forward. Not sure how that. Not sure how that works. Alright, so we're putting our rudder to the left. Now, if you've looked at the design of this particular boat, there we go. Okay, now we're coming away. The propeller is actually on the end of the rudder. So theoretically, when you swing your rudder sideways, it's kind of like a bow thruster. So it's pulling the the stern of the ship sideways. So what I'm trying to do is rock and get the bow away from, there we go, now it's coming away. Now the question is, how much will this weight affect the performance of the ship? Because I've got probably about 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers, maybe it's 3 kilometers to actually get out and away from, make sure I don't have a mine behind me. Alright, we're going to leave that at 20% back. E to exit temporarily here. We'll do open map, do a reset view to get centered on the boat. And we are ultimately going to Exodus Station, which is way the heck down here. Alright, so I'm gonna clear all, which is a J, and then come down here. Excuse me. Alright, so we're backing out a little, get back into control of the vessel here. Alright, so I've got that highlighted. That is 14 kilometers away. That is a little bit away. Okay, back to 0. Put my rudder over to starboard hard. I don't think I'm going to go to 100%, especially until I know how to weight on the front of the boat. It doesn't seem to be doing anything yet, but I did have, you know, that wonky thing happen. So I'm going to get turned around here and headed in the right direction, and then we'll close this episode because traveling over the water is kind of boring. Alright, I think we're doing good here. We'll see if we can get out of the high seas back to more calm waters, but in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and this is Kentu Tiger signing off, and we'll catch you next time.